So the plan is to take this forklift mast and turn it into a 3-point forklift mast attachment for a tractor. This forklift mast is going to be way overkill and pick way more than this tractor ever should, but I might be putting it on a bigger tractor someday. So for now, I'm gonna put it on this and see what it can lift and hopefully not break anything on here. I'm also not gonna be using the entire mast, because if I were to just take this whole thing off and put it on there, I'm guessing this whole mast probably weighs 1,000 pounds. And that would be really limiting the capacity of the 3-point arms on this tractor. I think this tractor is rated to pick 2,500 pounds at the 3-point. So I plan on just using the first stage of these of this pallet mast. This is a 2-stage, so that's why it's got 2 rails. So it'll pick up to about this height, and then it'll engage the second stage and go almost twice as high as what you see here. So I'm planning and hoping it'll come apart easy enough where I can just use these 2 inner rails, which is what lifts first, and that's attached to the carriage. So I was looking at it, I already took apart a few hoses, and I'm gonna start by just trying to lift it right out. I'm thinking it'll come out pretty easy. It's kind of a shame, this forklift's in pretty good shape still, but it needed a new battery, and a new battery for this I think was like $10,000 or $5,000 for a refurbished one. And I was told parts were hard to find for it, so it just wasn't worth fixing. So it's gonna get scrapped, and I figured it was a good opportunity. I've wanted to build one of these for a little while, so I'm gonna see how it works. Okay, all that I can really see holding it, there's just a few more hose clamps that are going to these big cylinders. The big cylinders here, these 2, are for the second stage. And then they were connected to this plate, which is part of the first stage, which I'm trying to take out. And I don't see anything else down there. Should be free. And then I took off these clips holding on the top of the cylinders. So here's where the big cylinders attach, and then once the first stage hits its limit, I think it catches on these stops here, and then the 2 big cylinders on the side engage to go up. So I think I shouldn't even need to take these off, because that's part of that first stage. So I'm just gonna try hooking onto it and seeing if it'll come on and out. I'm hoping it does. So I definitely don't have enough height to pull this out. Even with the grapple, I was opening it up to get every little bit. So I'm gonna try cutting these tilt cylinders loose and seeing if it'll pivot down far enough to drag it out. I don't know if there's stops. It might hit on the ground a little bit, but I'm gonna try that. So this thing is heavy. The tractor does not like it, but it's testing out the grapple pretty good. I don't think I bent anything. So I was having a hard time figuring out why it wasn't coming out, and I discovered that right here there's a wheel right there, a roller bearing, and up top, and this top roller is connected to this bottom mast, and this bottom roller is connected to the top mast, which I'm trying to take off. And I saw a few videos of people dismantling them, and you have to take off the first main piston and the fork carriage. You have to take that out the top, I think, and then you have to bring the first carriage out the bottom, or a little bit out the bottom, to unbolt the wheels, and then it can slide off the top. And you'd have to disconnect all of that. Since this is scrap, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cut the lower frame right here and there, and then I should be able to move the mast that way, unbolt the two rollers, and I think it'll come out. All right, so that tube was thick. So it didn't work out how I thought it would. I would have had to take apart this fork carriage so it would let it go that way and then undo the bearings and stuff. I was already cutting on it. So all I had to do was cut that tube and it broke apart. So now the first stage is completely separate. Now I got to get it upright and figure out how I'm going to hook it to the tractor. Okay, it's gonna look something like that. Like I was saying, this setup is probably a little big for this tractor, but it's definitely gonna be able to lift more than the loader would lift, and I plan on getting a bigger tractor someday. So all I gotta do is really weld somewhere for the lower arms to hook up, and then those are probably going to be way down low, and then probably a bracket up in here for the third arm. gotta degrease this thing. I'm just covered in grease because this was the inside of the other set of rails, so it was all packed full of grease. I'm gonna degrease the whole thing and then just re-grease this inside. It's the only thing that needs grease now. So I didn't consider the angle of the dangle here. If I was thinking about it, I could have put these pins lower and that would have brought the bottom out. Because right now, like you saw when I come down, this thing is gonna lean back quite a bit. So instead of re-engineering all that, I think I'm just gonna buy a shorter upper arm, and I think I can get a shorter one. And then eventually it'd be nice to have a hydraulic top link to adjust that pitch. Would be cool someday. But for right now, I'm just gonna get a shorter one of those. And then I ordered the fittings I need to hook up the mast cylinder to my rear remotes here. So once those get in, I'll be able to try it out. So I realized I had the fittings I needed to make it work. All I needed to connect was this bigger hose because it's only a one-way acting cylinder. It only has hydraulic up. It doesn't need hydraulic down. It's got enough weight to return back down. I was thinking I needed to connect these for some reason, but those are just for the side shift, which I'm gonna leave on there, but I'm not gonna connect right now. I might connect those sometime in the future. So I'm just gonna take those hoses off and cap it down here. So it works pretty good. And I have one more idea to try to get a little more capacity out of it. So my plan is to, if I'm getting into something with it, I get into a wood tote and try picking it up with the arms, with the rear lift on the tractor. And if that lifts it, that would be my test to then lift it with the pallet mast. But if I feel it struggling a little bit and I got to kind of feel it out to see if I can go a little more, I bolted these chains on the arms and I'm going to weld them or bolt them, I'm not sure yet, to these roll bar arms that are pretty beefy. They're mounted to the axle there on each side. So the thought is I'm going to connect these solid. I'm going to bring this down and figure out how low I need it because these are going to be solid. I thought about doing a rigid bar, but then I won't be able to lift it up and down. So this will limit how much it can go down. I don't want to put a ton of pressure and weight on the rear hydraulics here. I don't want to beat up on them. So this will help take a bunch of the weight from this mast that's already heavy and from stuff I pick up, and I might get a little more capacity out of it. So that's the thought. I'm going to see how that works. I also had another 3-point top link laying around, but I had to shorten it, so I just cut it in half and then shortened it to the right length I needed. It's sitting pretty happy now. Eventually it'd be cool to get a hydraulic top link so I can adjust the pitch of the whole forklift mast, but that's down the road. Okay, I'm gonna go pick some heavy stuff and try to break the tractor in half. Not really, but kinda. So it can pick a little more than this tractor should. That cylinder's got a lot more power. I'm not sure how much it can pick. It could definitely pick more than the loader be able to pick. So I could play around with it a little bit. Other than that, I might have to grapple onto a big log or something when I'm moving stuff around. So these are the 375 gallon totes that I use for wood. I do have some of the 275 gallon ones. These are the bigger ones. I don't know what the weight difference is, a couple 100 pounds. So I should be able to move the smaller ones all right, but these bigger ones, I'll need some weight up front. So either way, I have another tractor attachment that I'll be able to put on a bigger tractor someday. I could still use it on this for some stuff. And it was free. Like I said, this tow motor is getting scrapped. I'm gonna steal some more parts off it before that. And it wasn't that hard of a project.